Well, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. Well, NATO recently concluded major counter-drone exercises in Romania, where AI-powered interceptors, radar systems, and swarm simulations were tested in real conditions along the alliance's eastern flank. At the same time, Poland is moving ahead with plans for a large-scale so-called drone armada built in cooperation with Ukraine, signaling how quickly Europe's defense posture is evolving under battlefield pressure. Now to discuss what this means for industry and security, we're joined by Liliana Filip, President, Political Research Group. Good to have you with us here. Welcome.
Hello, Sasha. Morning. Thank you for the invitation.
It's our pleasure. So, Liliana, tell us a little bit more about this exercise wrapped up a few days ago in Romania. Quite significant in terms of AI interceptors. Tell us a bit more about how all this will change the battlefield.
So this is the first one in a large series, and it is a project very important for ACT in NATO, because as you can see, the drones has been inserted in tactics and operations, and we need to be prepared. So this exercise is for bringing new technologies and to build integrated counter-UAS cell within NATO. It is a first step. Other four will follow this year in the Baltic states. And I believe it's something that we need to do. And regarding the AI, it is something that we will use only for targeting, classification, prioritization, but the engagement authority, it will stay with human.
Mm-hmm. Now, also the Romanian defense minister was there on site, and he said that some of these tests were only partially successful. I mean, some of the targeting as it didn't quite make it, but nevertheless, his attendance there, and also tell us a bit more about the involvement of the private sector in all this, because I think they've played a major role in all this.
Yeah, so it was a huge exercise in Capu Media testing range in Romania. 500 people support this test, and 21 countries were participating. The importance of for the private sector is that all the procurement cycle is now refining, because it is a very heavy cycle in procurement in all the European armies now. It takes like 5 years from planning to acquisition, and with this kind of instrument they want to test it, evaluate it, and work with them, because when they do this exercise they connect a lot of different companies delivering different parts of solution, and in the end they will qualify, if they are successful, to be inserted in acquisition process. So in a way, if you want, for the private sector, this kind of exercises is a easy door to sell to armies.
Mm-hmm. So a lot going on there in terms of, I mean, it's still a critical partner, Romania. Tell us a bit more also about, we've heard also the pressure. I mean, Romania also shares the border with Ukraine. The Danube has seen also drones coming in from Russia. Tell us about where Romania stands right now, how that cohesion within the alliance, exercises. Tell us what's on ahead for Romania in that direction.
Yeah, as you can observe, this NATO layered counter-UAS initiative is focusing Black Sea and Baltic Sea, and on each of this region, Ukraine is present with experts, and there is as well a structure named GTEC that takes all the expertise and all the tactical experience from Ukraine and inserting to these exercises. So yeah, it is a hot sea here in the Black Sea. We are looking very careful of the evolution. Maybe they are not on the spot now because of other conflicts around the world, but it is serious. It's still happening, and the alert is still very high.
And also in terms of what's up next, I know that in future you'll have the B9 summit also that's happening in just a few weeks' time. How critical is that right now in terms of also Eastern flank and NATO cooperation?
It's very important as you follow the Romania and Poland addressed an invitation to President Trump to attend this forum because we want to raise the importance of the eastern flank in the security issues. And he took very serious, and of course he addressed it to Marco Rubio, the state secretary, to make a decision. This format B9 for the region is very important because we build this framework of dialogue to address difficult topics that impact our regions. And I expect that soon enough we will have important conversation on security, but as well on the economic side. And always when we have this kind of formats, it is much more easier to address at the international level position of the states within the B9. So it's best for us to be in this kind of formats and not to have single voices in the international level.
All right, so I mean, dialogue is important, but at the same time, NATO does seem to be a bit under strain, and we've heard just this recent, or rather seen this Pentagon email circling on Reuters, very much calling for the United States that wants to suspend Spain from NATO, wondering if we can actually do that. But let's just get a little bit more from one other NATO ally, Italy, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, what she has to say about NATO cohesion. Let's run that now.
I believe NATO must remain united. I believe we must work to strengthen NATO's European pillar, which is what we are doing, obviously taking into account all the issues you are aware of regarding the European defense pillar, which must clearly complement the American one. You know what I think about the unity of the West and the role of the West, and so I've always been of the view that it needs to be strengthened.
So, Liliana, in terms of your experience, also from the Romanian perspective, this European NATO pillar, is that the future of NATO? Can that continue without the United States? What do you make of the latest there?
I believe there are a lot of declaration, but doesn't mean that it will happen something very serious, because this alliance has a huge history. It's not starting yesterday. All the decisions are on unanimity of all the state members. Of course, if you can remember that Macron said something about NATO a few years ago, but nothing happened. In fact, NATO became much more stronger since that declaration. I expect that this challenging that exists within the NATO community will be addressed with rational thinking and decision making, and I don't see that it will be an exit or an expulsion. Legally is not possible, and we need to focus that the idea that NATO is a place where armies can work together. So the military, the people in uniform. Of course, the political decision is the one that supervise and give the direction. But in the end, the added value of this alliance is that all our armies now can work together, which is very difficult
Difficult but necessary. So, and also I know that you've worked very much also with what's going on in the defense industry in Romania. Just curious briefly, how is that link forging ahead? How are the links now also between NATO partners? Also, let's look at Poland for a minute, between Romania. How are those relationships right now, given what's happening on the eastern flank?
So, of course, the private industry and defense industry is about the connection and collaboration between companies. This is not something that state can control, but because of the same needs, we can harmonize the connection between them and to work better together. From my experience, now the situation is, and with the SAFE program that in our country today, this proposal from the Ministry of Defense will go into the parliament and it will be a decisive day. This kind of situation are under the following model. So we have big companies, European ones from defense industry, gaining big projects, and the smaller Romanian companies from the defense industry will couple to that to localize the production and maintenance and so on. So this is the model that we are experiencing. I believe Romania and Poland, we are not working enough, and the companies are not very well connected. Maybe it's a place that we should look much more seriously and to find ways how to do it together, because in the end we need to have integrated solution when we want to respond to the same threats.
Okay, so more potential there. Just really quickly at the end, just get an insight from the right now what's happening in Dubrovnik in Croatia, also on dialogue, the 3C summit taking place today of heads of state gathering there. What do you make the expectations? How relevant is the summit, and what are you expecting from it?
I believe it's the 10th anniversary of this summit, which is important that it stayed with us. But the situation is that the economic component of the cooperation at the international level within the Euro-Atlantic community is not priority number one. Now the security is, and you can see on the list of attendance at the 3C initiative summit in Dubrovnik now. U.S. presence is very, very low, and it says something, and the political representation it's not so high. There are discussion about the strategic corridors, and in the security situation right now, these strategic corridors are very important. But still, we need to give much more importance to the instrument that we have built in here in Europe in connection with United States. The same situation it was B9 and others. So if we are not making enough to promote this kind of diplomatic instruments or economic platforms, nobody will come to help us. So it's on us, and I believe we did not enough for this 3C initiative summit or others. So we need to be much more serious on these kind of things.
All right, so it seems there's more work ahead, but Romania is playing its part as well there on the eastern flank. Thanks so much for all those insights, Liliana Filip, there, President, Political Research Group. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.